Hey fam, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications.
Speaking of 2020, former Vice President and likely 2020 presidential candidate Joe Biden has been hammered in the last 2 weeks or so for his hands-on style of campaigning. The complaints have come from women claiming that his touching of them made them feel uncomfortable. No one is complaining about sexual assault or misconduct. It's more that they feel their personal space had been invaded, or that they did not give him permission to touch them, or that it was just creepy. As a result of the Biden controversy, many politicians and activists have been reluctant to suggest that that identifying it as Me Too could be a stretch and maybe even dangerous. Could there be a male backlash over Me Too when it's so loosely applied? Joining me to talk about this is Melody Spann Cooper, chairman of Midwest Broadcasting Corporation, owner of WVON Radio in Chicago. Welcome, Ms. Cooper.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. And before we get started, I have to acknowledge Misha, who is a dear mentee of mine and doing such tremendous work, as well as Sister Janice Mathis, who I've known over the years through her work at Rainbow Push. So thank you for having me on.
The Chicago folks.
Yeah, look, the Chicago connection is strong in here.
Chi-Town.
I might start cooking some Harold in the back office.
Salt,
pepper, mild sauce, fried hard bread on the top. Just letting you know. All right, but
you got to interpret that.
Yeah, you got to say it all really quickly. Because the person behind you in line does not have time to playing around with you. So,
that's right.
But, you know, it was interesting reading your article on this because Friday, I wrote a very similar article and forgot to publish it. And then when I read yours, I was like, yours is way better.
Wow,
so on this idea of the widening of the Me Too movement, you know, it started off R. Kelly, Bill Cosby has people drugged and knocked out for 50 years. R. Kelly got a sex dungeon full of children. Harvey Weinstein is raping people left and right. And now it seems it's gone to, he made me feel kind of creepy. So how do we find a middle ground and a manageable standard for this?
Well, we have to do that. I actually wrote the article based on, even before all of this happened, with the exception of Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein, I'm writing a book called The Girlfriend's Guide to Closing the Deal. And I talked about the #MeToo movement in this book and how women at the table, we're always one or two of us at the table, and men having to negotiate how to deal with us in this Me Too movement. I actually started walking in rooms with gentlemen I've known for years, and they are extending their hands for a handshake versus the hug that we used to get, because we know one another and because we like one another, we care about one another. And I think we set a dangerous precedent for women who could stand to be set back tremendously if we think that men are going to negotiate this. And I talk to ladies and tell them that men still rule the world. 94% of our corporations are being headed by men. And as we fight for equity in the boardroom and we fight for equity at the table where the deals are being done, it's going to be difficult for men to make a choice for us to sit there for fear of this #MeToo. And can I hug her, or can I compliment her on her pearls? It's a bit much. We've got to find a common ground where we can all sit there equitably and bring our best talents and wherewithal, and not make men feel that any slight, indignation will cause them to lose their jobs, lose their positions, and their livelihoods.
And, you know, it's interesting in the article because you talked about your father told you, somebody steps on your toe to say ouch, as a way of making the point that if these women had simply just turned around and said, hey, man, back off real quick, then this would have not, why wait 10 years until the guy's running for president to bring up that you felt uncomfortable instead of telling him when he was next to you? And it kind of, for me, it paints women into this image that we've been trying to get away from, of being helpless, being fragile, being damsels in distress who can't deal with their own issues. I've seen Janice Mathis bring 6'5" men to tears. I mean, just with one look. So I'm used to strong women like that. What do you think will happen if we continue expanding this?
Well, you know, one thing, it's up for exploration because women who are victims of sexual assault, sexual molestation, oftentimes are embarrassed to talk about it. These are not instances of sexual abuse, but they fall in the area of inappropriateness, right? And I use this example as I've been talking about this. This generation that has come up and is empowered by this hashtag Me Too, they're a different generation. You all remember Family Feud, and Richard Dawson would actually kiss on the lips every woman that was a contestant, right? Today, that would be a hashtag Me Too movement issue. Back then, it wasn't. And so we have to be patient on both sides as we figure out how to navigate this. But I will tell young women this. You don't have to embarrass a person, but you can do, like we just said Janice has done. You have to reach a level of confidence and involvement where if Mr. Biden or anybody else comes up and it makes you feel inappropriate, you feel that their actions or interactions with you are inappropriate. Hi, Mr. Biden, it is really nice to meet you. I just want you to know I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable that you are in my personal space. Now, that is respectful, and the most important thing it will do, it will allow him to back up. And it will allow him to keep his job, continue to run for president of the United States without making it this big national attention. Women, we have to, if we're going to be in control, if we're going to be empowered, then we have to have that in every part of our being and not be afraid to honor our personal space and let people know that when they step on our toe, we're in pain. And just yell, ouch, like my dad said.
All right, great article. We look forward to the book coming out. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. We're going to go back to our panel. We're going to start with Janice, because you've been navigating this male-dominated world for the majority of your career, and you started out before there was this this extra emphasis on appropriateness, and particularly in the church and civil rights organizations, we see all sorts of inappropriate things happening. So how do we balance the sins of what were, but not overreact to things now where every single slight is considered a Me Too moment?
I think Melody put her hands on it, and it's about balance. And it's about being confident enough and assured enough that the society will back you up to be able to say, no, you know, I'd really prefer that you call me Janice. And it's also about, you know, sometimes we as women want to have it both ways. We want to be dainty and attractive and submissive because we think that's sexy or whatever, appealing. But we also don't want to be taken advantage of. And so you have to pick your spots, I think, so that when you're in a business environment, don't be laughing and grinning and carrying on and acting like it's all right sometimes, and then go home and tell your girlfriend how creepy it was. If it was creepy, say so. He'll get over it. And then be authentic. I think, what do y'all say? Keep it 100. keep it real, and then generally you're on safe ground. But I, for one, am delighted that young women are able, and older women, whoever, are able to express when they feel discomfort. Because I grew up in an era, I kept something heavy on my desk. So if somebody came around my desk, I could club them with it. And I didn't tell my dad because he'd have killed him. And, you know, so I'm glad the young women now have more options than something heavy on their desk.
I'm telling y'all, Janice made a 6'5" man cry right in front of me when I was 19. Broke him down to the cellular level. And Amisha, you're navigating this this world now in politics and in media, but do you think there will be what they're calling a man lash, where men backlash and just say, you know what? If I can't shake your hand, if I got to be on eggshells around you because I'm going to get on the cover of Time magazine, if I say hi to you, you're not coming to drinks, you're not coming to happy hour, you're not coming to the cigar bar, you're not coming to the golf course with us, and women miss out on opportunities because of that. How can we prevent that from happening? You know, you don't want men to turn into Mike Pence, where you won't even be in a room with a woman without his wife present just to protect himself.
Know thyself. Mike Pence may need to not be in that room. But I will say that I think that we're already there. There are instances that I know of where there are men who are in high positions who have interviewed young females that they will not bring on because of an instance where they might compliment them on a dress that was nice one day and then them be out of fear that tomorrow they may not have their position anymore. So I definitely think that this is something that is happening today. I also believe that there is an important distinction we need to make between Me Too and something like the accusations around Joe Biden. Because as a millennial woman, I've always felt extremely comfortable telling somebody that you are in my personal space. I grew up in the South where everybody hugs everybody. But moving back to Chicago, it's like everybody does not do that. So I think that there's a regional thing. There's also an age thing there. My grandfather hugged everybody. He was a Joe Biden type character himself. I grew up seeing that. But I will say that in a workplace, to Ms. Janice's point earlier, there are young women and women who aren't so young who smile, who are a little bit more outgoing and things, and it seems like they're a little bit more welcoming to that type of behavior. So when you're that person and it's received in that way and that person is returning it to you, it is very confusing to me that a few days later or a few years later, you come back and now this is a problem, when at the time, it didn't seem to be a problem for either of the parties. Right. So I think that there has to be that distinction as well.
All right, quick comment from Mike on this. How have you modulated your behavior out of fear of Me Too accusation?
Well, first, full disclosure, Vice President taught me in law school, so. And he used to walk around the room, and he would put his hand on everybody, so everybody knew that was then the senator. It doesn't excuse it. I have to commend the women that came out, because they didn't take it to the next step of feeling harassed or assaulted. They told the truth, and that also helps in this kind of whole environment of everything so in a microwave oven of politics and ugliness. They said, you know what? It was just creepy. I just wanted the world to know it was creepy. I felt uncomfortable. And to the Vice President's credit, he came out with his video. I don't know, and I don't know if the joke at the speech the next day was helpful, but I thought his video was right on point. And I think when folks ask the Vice President to say sorry, man or woman, it is very difficult to find a politician that says sorry. Because once you say sorry that first time, then no matter what mistake you make, you gotta get sorry, and it kind of keeps going. So I get that. It's just an interesting time that we're in, and we have to be careful. I'll tell you what my grandfather and father taught my sister, and I try to do that, at least to be respectful. A lot of the onus is on men to be much more respectful than we are. But my grandfather and father taught my sister, when you're somewhere, stick your hand out first. Because once that hand is out, that the barrier is not, and you're polite and you're nice and you're shaking hands, but that doesn't mean that stops the hug, definitely. So anyway, I think there's different ways people can approach
defense
things.
Mechanisms.
And then same thing. So when I was going in a room, and I'm one of those kind of huggy people, not anymore. I can't be.
Yeah, it changes the way you act.
Changed. So now if a woman sticks her hand out, or I'll put my hand out first. And if she says, Michael, I can't believe you're not hugging me. It happened the other night. Well, you don't know me anymore. So then I did.
Or what you do, you have a signed release and a notary public with you to consent to the hug that you're about to take part in. You keep it in file.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Calling all HBCU alumni, including me, Clark Atlanta University, students and leaders enter the Ford Motor Company HBCU Mobility Challenge and win $25,000 for your school. Building on their long-term support of HBCUs, Ford is looking to improve mobility in HBCU communities through innovative solutions. The winning program will receive a grant of up to $25,000 to implement their proposal. The deadline to apply has been extended to April 15, 2019. Go to FGB.Life for more information and to apply. Ford goes further in our community.
Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.